Hey guys, today is November the 14th of 2022, and I needed to do an update on Bitcoin. The last video I did was September. We're already in November, so let's see what has happened. So I watched my September video update, and on the weekly chart, the weekly cycle was the 172. And it said it was, I believe it was peaking somewhere around September the 4th, right there, hitting a peak. Then that cycle was turning down, but you see that Bitcoin been going sideways until November 8 and got this nice flush down to the downside. So looking at the weekly cycles, I'm still using the same data. Nothing's really changed from September 2014 to current prices. I don't really have much data on Bitcoin on the weekly. So the strongest cycle here, the last September update video was 172. It has shifted to 176. So not much has changed. Correlation is pretty good. We hit a trough somewhere around September the 26th, and the cycles are up. Meanwhile, we've been going sideways and has some kind of capitulation. I don't know if it was a fat finger or, not the fat. It could be a fat finger, but, a lot of the stuff going on with the data exchange and filing for bankruptcy and all kinds of stuff going on in that exchange. FTX, I believe, is called. Volatility increased, and you got this nice flush to the downside, while the weekly cycles now are up. So it's interesting to see if we could regain back 20 and then follow this cycle up. But right now, this is the pattern that's playing out, and I've seen this before when the cycles are going up and you get this little flash crash or a fat finger or some kind of event that disrupts the market. If it's going to follow the cycles, it will regain back 20 and then break this trend line or this making lower lows and lower highs and start reversing and going, the opposite direction. But that hasn't happened yet. So I have it on my radar, but I just want to let you know that the weekly cycle is up. Now, from my last video I did, the dominant cycle was 41. That has changed. The dominant cycle now in this time frame and in this, as of this date, is 34. So it's a little more fractal. And what I do is I take the dominant cycle and the strongest cycle, which is 176. What it's showing is that there's a dip here. It's a trough around October 30th. And the cycles go up. So this is a composite. Now I do want to show you another cycle here, but it's not as strong as the 176 as the 288. And this one is very bearish, but it's always good to have your eyes open and not look at one direction and just kind of see both sides, just in case the 176 is not going to pan out. And this other cycle, the 288, which is not as strong, like I said, but it's there. On regards to Bartel, it's like 63.21, and the 176 cycle is 72.94. So that one's a little stronger, but I'm not going to rule it out. So this is just for the bears. The bear case is that the cycle is going to hit a trough somewhere around August 2023. There's a potential that, Bitcoin could go sideways to lower if it's going to follow this cycle and possibly hit a cycle low around that's the season of August and then maybe resume the trend up. But if that's not the case and there's just a lot of seasonalities and a lot of trap going on and you know how it is in the markets, it's all about the sharks and making sure you don't get bitten. Is that the cycles are up, and if this is the one that's going to play out, if this is the one Bitcoin is going to, line up with, and this is all just a head fake, a bear trap, you just have to keep watching price action, make sure that you're on the right side of the trade. As of right now, it's not looking good. So let's look at the weekly chart and then see what the weekly chart is telling us there. Okay, so this is the daily chart, and looks like there are three here. One is the most important one, and then there's our two that kind of are lumped together, and they're not that bad. So we're going to start out with the first one. I'm using data on the daily chart, data from 2015 on. And the first one, which is the strongest one, is the 195 cycle, and you can see that the correlation is not that great. When the cycle is up on the daily, you see that we just going to go sideways. And somewhere around here, we hit a peak, and then this event happens, or whatever happened here. You get this flush to the downside. So the daily cycles, using this time frame, is down as of now. Just hit a peak November 9th. And we go to the 289. You can see that we hit a trough around May, we hit a peak around October, and the cycle is down. Now let's move this here so you kind of get an idea. So that goes down all the way to March of next year. The 195 hits a trough somewhere around February of next year. And then the next one is the 226. And this one hit a trough of on October the 10th. It hits a peak on January the 28th of next year. So we take the strong one, and I'm going to take the 195 and the 289, make a composite, and it's pretty much, we just hit a peak. There's nothing really excited about all this. Maybe the third one. And the daily cycles are down, while the weekly cycles are just bottoming out and turning up. So things are backwards, or as I say, not in one direction. And that's typical when you do analysis and trading. Some things are just going to go against each other. So that's what the daily cycle is saying. We're going to go now look at the seasonality and see what typically Bitcoin does around November, December, now to get a better gauge. But we know that the weeklies are up, daily cycles just peaked, and now they're going to probably push lower. So we got to see what could affect and what is the possible path that Bitcoin could take now. Okay, so this is the seasonality. I'm going to show you a few things, some interesting things I want you to be aware of. I'm start out with a 5-year. We see that October was pretty strong. And then November is the weakest, also with December, pretty weak. And even January, using a 5-year average. Since I don't have a lot of data on Bitcoin, it's going to only let me go to 9 years. So we could kind of get a better gauge. So the same thing goes. October is pretty strong. November is a little stronger, just not by much. Then December is flat. So let's look at another seasonality chart that we have and see what kind of info we could get on that. Okay, so this is another seasonality chart I like to look at to kind of get a gauge on what typically could possibly happen within a season. And you can see that I don't really have a lot of data, so I'm just using the 5-year average because the 5, 10, and 50 are the same. You can see that it does a swing low September 29th using a 5-year average, and then it does a swing high on November 8th, and then it kind of gets weaker and pulls down. Meanwhile, since my last update in September, we just have been going sideways, consolidating. And interesting is that somewhere around November 4th, that first week of November, we got that, sell-off really strong. And seasonality-wise, by November 8th, it typically hits a peak. So interesting to see that. I don't know what I'm going to call that, but I'm just going to say that it's very interesting price action when we get close to a seasonality peak and this happens. Okay, so looking forward, so what could possibly happen? It could continue going sideways to lower now. That's in the cards. Daily cycles are down while weekly cycles are up. We know that. And I just want to show you some key dates to keep an eye on. Pretty much the last week of November, around the 30th, I guess there's a little pop, and maybe it's a dead cat bounce. And also December 15th, around there. We could see maybe a possible rally there, but nothing promised here. Just showing you potential, possible swing lows. All you gotta do is just see the price action from November on. But so far, the seasonalities are indicating that Bitcoin could, get weaker even more from here. So just keep that in mind. And these are possible swing pivot dates that you want to keep on your radar. Okay, so this is my Elliott Wave chart. As you can see, let's look at the monthly. You can see that we broke below a lot of the moving averages here. And out of this channel, 1, 2, 3, a potential pop to wave 4, then ending it on a wave 5. That's on the monthly. On the weekly, you can see that we hit a wave 5 up here, somewhere around November of last year. We got 1, 2. This is possibly a wave 3, but just in case if it's needs more downside, projected line or target would be 854, sorry. And if this is a wave 3, then potential wave 4 to the upside would be 2313 all the way to 2800, which is this level right here. We're going to bounce into December to make your wave 4. Another projection for wave 3. This is pretty. Actually, this is negative, so this is not going to work out. Yeah, this probably not gonna. This count may not work out. Looking at this. Yeah. Let's see. But what I'm looking at here is that this is a target that I had a while back, and it hit it, and now it's kind of holding there. If this doesn't hold, it could potentially push lower into this lower channel here. But if it's going to get a bounce, this is going to be like the target, anywhere between 27 and 26. Looking at the daily chart, this is pretty much where this target is. It's saying this is a wave 5. Another thing I wanted to show you on the weekly, keep an eye on this one. A technique I use is called the ellipse technique. It doesn't work all the time, but when it works, it's effective because you see the volume increase around this time frame. For pretty much the first week of December. Once we hit the first week of December, volatility could be increased dramatically using this technique. The question is that what direction is going to go? Is the volatility going to increase to the upside? Because we're so oversold, it wouldn't surprise me if we go up. But if something really is doom and gloom in the future that we don't know, like another Lehman event in regards to Bitcoin world, then the first week of December could be very catastrophic and maybe even push lower. So just using this technique, keep an eye on that. Also, pretty much like the second week of December, keep an eye on that. Let's look to the daily, and you can see that the daily is just finding support here. And the Stokes are kind of very oversold and just kind of balancing out here, consolidating. So it'll be interesting to see if we get a pop somewhere around towards the end of November, early December, and maybe do some kind of rally. Okay, so this is my monthly chart. On the monthly, we still are on a buy signal, even though we are chopping around the demand zone. You look down here, you can see that the histogram on the MACD has been turning positive while we kind of been going sideways to lower, signifying, in my opinion, that the selling pressure has been diminishing very slowly. So the momentum has been slowly, going slower to the downside. So keep that in mind. That's the only thing I see here is that we're into this man zone, and you see this pivot high. I'm using the Hekanachi just to kind of keep me in the trend, but the trend is down, but no sell signal yet on the monthly. Let's go to the weekly and see what we have there. Let's open this up a little bit. As you can see, the MACD has been going back and forth, chopping around, and we're in the demand zone. The demand zone ends somewhere around 13.7, around 13.84, and we're in here. We put our regular candles. You can see how the volatility has been going pretty wild. Also, doing some parallel channels, you can see that there is an angle coming here that if November continues to go weak, you're going to find support within that parallel channel in the bottom of this demand zone. Now, and that's the white one. The blue one, it's another new channel that I've attached. And we almost broke out of this channel. But we're back in there and we're kind of chopping around. So I could see a potential maybe, within this whole month, somewhere reaching at least 13, 916, somewhere around there. This whole area could be kissed. Then the question is, what is going to happen once we get there? Weekly sell signal is still active. You're below the moving average. So it's not looking good here. If we go to the daily, even though the MACD is kind of positive, you can see that nice fat flush coming in. A day you probably want to keep an eye on, I might probably put it here, is the 26. I was looking at another chart. Where's my date? Is it vertical? Maybe. 26th of November. What day that is? That's a Saturday, so most likely it'll be a Friday. So I'm going to put that there as a marker. Just keep that on your radar. That could be a potential swing low, looking at some other seasonality, but that I haven't included in this, in this presentation, this video. I'm going to put it there on top of the other ones I just showed you earlier. So interesting price action here. In regards to the chart, let me see. Maybe I might show you one more chart, and then that's it. I'm gonna wrap it up. But I just wanted to kind of give an update on the Bitcoin. I am not trading Bitcoin. I am playing it through a stock called Hive, Hive, and that's my only exposure to Bitcoin. So that's why I keep an eye on it. And eventually, once I have time, I'll do an update on that stock. But as of right now, that's how I'm playing Bitcoin, just playing it through a stock. So let's see, maybe I go through another chart and then we'll wrap it up. Okay, so this is my master chart. There's a few things I wanted to show you here. This is a simple moving average to 200. I always color it green. You can see that price action is below that. Trend line that was very important right here was broken, and you see that big gap and been consolidating and then now pushing lower. In the Fibonacci retracement, you can see that it already was it was basing off the 76.4%. It was at 1930 and it fell through. In regards to the extensions, timing wise, around the 20th, that week of the 20th, that's the 61 point in regards to time. In regards to the Gann square, you see right here, there's one coming up November the 23rd. So that week of the 20th, 23rd, this is a vector point. This is the 1/4 and this is the 1/8. So this 1/8 level is at 12.13. So if we can hold here and somewhere around the week of the dates I told you, the 26th, the 24th, the 20th that week, if something happens and it gets even worse, chances are it could land on this level right here, which is the 1/8. In regards to a neural net, this is pretty much now the computer trying to figure out what could be a possible turning point. And from my years of using neural net, what I found out is that whenever you see neural net pointing up, most of the time is not really the direction it's going. It's just kind of indicating for a possible turning point. And the computer is picking up November the 28th. Mind you, that's a Monday. So somewhere, and it doesn't have to be exactly that date. You just want to keep that on your radar. So anywhere between like the last week of November, the third week, third week, there's a lot of clusters, the 26th, the 20th, and you got the 28th right here. So this is a computer picking that out. So keep that on your radar. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it may be nothing because, volume could probably be low, but that's what the computer is picking. So I wanted to show that because that's what I have on my radar. In regards to solar cycles, you can see that it was indicating a low here and a peak somewhere around the 20th. And then this little hump right here is the 28th. So from the 20th to the 28th, there's a lot going on there that if it's pushing lower, it could possibly be an inverted turning point. But, that remains to be seen. We just got to keep that on our radar. In regards to seasonalities, the annual, like I said, peaks up kind of like with the solar. The annual decimal, you can see that we hit a bottom here, which is kind of lining up with Bitcoin. Now we just got to see higher highs and higher lows. It's a peak in December the 12th, goes to the 18th, and hits a peak somewhere around January. So that remains to be seen. Other things I have on my note here that I wrote down, pretty much the average return by month, November is minus 13 and December's minus 6. So November is not too good in regards to being bullish. Week 47, which is the worst week in regards to Bitcoin in November. So week 47, that's going to be the worst week. I remember which week is this. The third week of November is negative 0.9045. And if you go to week 4, it's negative 0.0137. So it's a little stronger. It's not as weak. But week 3 is pretty weak. And then week 5, which is the last week, is negative 1.2513. So it's very weak also. So November could be very weak in regards to price action. So even though the weeklies are up, seasonality, and all that other stuff is indicating that, we could probably go sideways to lower here. So just be cautious on what your trading plan is. But these are my thoughts for Bitcoin in November. I am long. I'm still long on Hive. That's how I'm playing the Bitcoin world. So it'll be interesting to see what your thoughts and your comments are. But this is what my analysis is telling me. Just be cautious, and then let's see what December brings and where we at, and then we could do an update and see how November played out. Hopefully you like this video. I'll keep you posted on my thoughts on Bitcoin using Cycle and Gann cycle analysis.